Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker really does not need an introduction to this audience. Dr. Roger Leir has been solely, I would say almost solely, responsible for the modern implant research, okay? Yes, abductees do get implants. Yes, Dr. Leir has removed a lot of them. And it's getting serious, guys. He is getting some absolutely extraordinary findings, and he is here to update us on them now. Dr. Roger Leir.
They gave me a stool. Well, it's a pleasure to be back here again to discuss this very fascinating subject with you. Has everybody had lunch? Oh, okay. Well, those of you that haven't, I feel for you because I haven't either. But anyway, we have a lot of material to cover in just a very short time. I'd like to make one special announcement. There is a trip that's going to occur. These brochures are in various places at the registration table and at my table in the vendor room. It's a wonderful trip to Egypt, and the date is May the 5th through the 17th. George Norrie from Coast to Coast AM, where he possibly will be there broadcasting live. So if you can make it and you want more information, there's only 25 people that are going to be allowed to go. So please find out more about it. I'd like to thank Bob Brown and the UFO Congress for giving me the opportunity to do this presentation today. I'm going to present some new material that you have not heard about before. And this is based on the 15th surgery that we've done for removal of alien implants. We'll simply call this case file SC0010908. And if I can work this machine, we'll go on. Now, the patient has been using a pseudonym. His name is John Smith. He's 47 years old, and he is married with 3 children. He resides in Southern California, and his occupation just happens to be a physical scientist. So very strange things involved in this case. He has a positive alien abduction history, and as you know, ANS research has a very strict set of protocols and criteria that we use before any surgery is performed. And John fulfilled all the criteria and protocols and became the 15th case. The area of concern here is the second toe of the left foot. We had x-rays taken, and they showed a metallic foreign body measuring about 4 millimeters in length and about the thickness of a pencil lead. And as you know, in the other cases, we've seen about the same thing. So we have a number of these, at least 8 or 9, which all look the same and have the same essential qualities. What's unusual, another thing that's unusual about this case is when we did the scientific study of what we have here, we find it's sort of an embodiment of all the other 14 cases. If you've been following my research as it's been going, if you go way, way back to the first and second cases, and we had laboratory data coming from Los Alamos National Laboratories and from New Mexico Tech. If you remember, they didn't know what these samples were. This was a blind study, and they came back with a conclusion that these are a meteorite-like samples. And as you know, people don't step on meteorites or whack them with their hand, otherwise they'd have a very big hole, and probably not much material would be embedded in it. Once the x-rays are taken, then we know that there's an object there. We use a CAT scan, and the CAT scan will give us the approximation of where the object lies, and we're able to then do the surgery more specifically. I told you it was about 3 to 5 millimeters. It's radio dense. That means that it appears in an x-ray about the thickness of a pencil lead. Second toe again. Estimated date of insertion was February the 28th of 2008. And how do we know that? Well, the individual remembers waking up in the morning, and he saw a couple of drops of blood on the bed sheets, and he looked down at the toe, and there was a couple of small puncture wounds which healed within a very short time. As with the other cases, again, there was no scar and no portal of entry available. Also, if you recall, before we take anything out, we like to find out as much information as possible as to what's going on. And as we're able to do that and get better and better equipment, we're able to get much more knowledge. And as you recall, one of the cases we did was emanating a radio frequency, which was verified by a friend of mine in Las Vegas, let's put it that way, who sent me a classified FCC sheet, and we found out that that frequency was broadcasting on a deep space radio frequency. Now, if that don't knock your socks off, I don't know what does. We have emissions coming from this last case too. We use a Gauss meter to detect the electromagnetic activity, and we found that we had a magnetic field of greater than 10 milligauss. Ionizing radiation, we were only able to detect the normal background radiation using a Geiger counter. And the radio emissions, again, we're at 14.749650 megahertz. I don't know yet. I haven't had enough time to find out exactly where on the band or where that is going, but we're finding out. We had emissions of RF and ELF and in the microwave bands. Also, you may have been told, but we're offering everyone that comes to the conference, and it's at least within the sound of my voice, if anybody's here or not in the room but are at the conference and you talk to them and you feel maybe they might have an implant of something and of whatever, and they would like to know more about it, we have a very expensive $90,000 piece of equipment sitting right outside the door here with Open Minds. Open Minds also is a new entity that's coming about, and it's going to serve as a purpose of a clearinghouse for physical evidence and other things in the UFO field. It's going to be a marvelous organization, and it's headed by one John Rayo. So you'll meet him out there. Anybody that wants to be scanned, you don't have to undress. You can just come as you are and stand in front of the antenna, and we'll tell you what time is on your radio control watch. So that'll be right after my presentation, right outside the door in the back of the room. We'll go on here. The surgery date was September the 6th, 2008, and in time, looking at total time, that was not long ago. I was used although it's in the foot, I use sometimes a general surgeon, because my time, I find, is better spent sort of as a surgical director, because this was being filmed for a production that was supposed to appear on the A&E channel. So I'll go into a little divergence about that. It was an excellent program, and we had it in our contract that there would be no debunkers and no skeptics. things would be told and the scientific data would be told up to date of the findings. They had a couple of focus groups that came in and looked at the hour pilot. This was going to be a series, and the series was to be called Alien Intent. They looked at the series and they came up with a bunch of real weird stuff and said they would only pick up the show if it had debunkers and skeptics in it, and we said no. I will never, ever intentionally again, and I try and do the best that I can to prevent this from happening. I've done numerous television shows. One is still playing. A lot of the shows that you see on television, and even those done by respectable groups, will bring in things. They will. There's a very clever thing going on. The people who are doing the show will debunk themselves. So you may have seen some stuff that's recently on TV which have two outcomes: no conclusion, or it's not real. So be very leery of what you see on TV, but I'm trying to place myself in a category where if a program appears on TV, unless it's purely entertainment and they want me to entertain, the knowledge that you're getting will have no debunkers and no skeptics. So on this case, I serve as an assistant surgeon. The anesthesia is a local. We use two mixed anesthesias and just to put the area to sleep. We have stills and video that record the surgery going on, of which I'm going to show you some actual surgery footage. So I hope you've digested your lunch. We use assistive X-ray devices, as I've talked about before. You're going to see that in some of the slides. It's called a C-arm, and it has a sender and a receiver, and then what you're seeing appears on two television screens. You're actually able to see an instrument being inserted, and you're able to find the object a lot quicker. We have multiple witnesses who are viewing this either on TV or live, and then they sign forms stating that they were there. Now, the specimen appeared, when you looked at it as on an X-ray, as a solid unit. But yet when we went to remove it, it came out in multiple fragments. It was quite brittle in nature, and it sort of came apart. And the fragments, as in the other cases, were surrounded by this very strange type of biological coating, which we've been finding with some of the other objects. The fragments were all placed on a surgical drape, which you will see, and I had to very carefully pick these fragments up and put them in the specimen container, which contains the patient's own blood serum. One of the photos here is the device that we use for the detection of radio waves, and we did that as well as using the Gauss meter. Here you'll see some filming going on, and also you'll recognize one of the individuals there as Whitley Strieber. A couple of pictures. I'm pointing to the object on the television screens that is part of the C-arm apparatus. This may be a little hard to see, but there is an object right here, and that's the object that we removed. Here is some actual surgery going on. This is material which has blood on it and a few pieces of the specimen. Here's the specimen container. It contains blood serum and has a bit of the sample on it. Now, we'll just diverge for a moment. What we like to do is we like to check as many things as possible, and this case was so interesting I couldn't help but want to present you this material, which is the first time anybody is ever hearing this. The you're going to get a lot of information which you've never heard before. This is the first time a breakthrough. So I just hope you realize how lucky you are to be a part of this. Client's home is a single-story dwelling. Its exterior construction is a plaster over chicken wire and the usual type of wrapping. The interior is plaster over wallboard. There's a number of magnetic anomalies we found. The exterior of the master bedroom wall above and below, but mainly below the window, showed some magnetic properties. A backyard soil was highly magnetic with a large magnetic field exceeding 10 milligauss, and the soil also spontaneously catches fire. We took samples and had some soil analysis done and found that the soil has an extremely high bromine content. He had a fiberglass boat that was in the driveway, and the fiberglass was also highly magnetic, which I don't know how that can happen. There was anomalies also of a Cadillac automobile that the individual drives. The interior of the house had numerous magnetic anomalies. All the utensils in the kitchen drawers, including things that absolutely should not be magnetic, such as those wooden salad serving forks and spoons and other utensils that were either plastic or made of wood. They are not supposed to be magnetic. The kitchen cupboard hinges were highly magnetic, and some of them contained only one pole of the magnet. Unipoles are not supposed to exist, but evidently they do. The non-metallic kitchen counters also were magnetic. The interior master bedroom wall, again around the windows and confluent areas, which we found on the outside, was also magnetic. I hope you can see this. This is a drawing of the house, and it indicates areas of a large amount of magnetism. There was a avocado tree that was growing in the backyard, and we set the Gauss meter on a limb of the avocado tree, and it pegged the Gauss meter at 10 milligauss. Now, if you've ever seen excuse me, an avocado tree that was magnetic, please get in touch with me at once. I would hate to eat the fruit off of that tree and have it stick to the metallic buttons on my shirt or something like that. Have a taco. They wouldn't want to make guacamole out of that, I think. All right, now in addition to this, we were able to dim the lights in the bedroom, and using 3 different frequencies of ultraviolet light, we found, again, this is the first time, so enjoy it. It's for real. Here's a picture of it. I hope you can see it. We found 2 small childlike handprints on the wall which were phosphorescing, and they only have 4 fingers. I don't have any friends that have 4 fingers that I know of. Here's another one. Look carefully. We've got this now. We took out the piece of the wall, and we're going to try and get DNA off of this. There's a new device that's been invented, and it's a tape, and you can put the tape over something that you're trying to get DNA and you peel the tape off, and you can send this tape into a laboratory and you can get the DNA. So we're very interested in seeing what the outcome, but just the photograph alone, which occurs in a house where abductions have been going on, and then you find 2 4-fingered small handprints on the wall, I think is a pretty interesting finding. 48 hours, here's another weirdo. 48 hours after the surgical specimen was placed in a sealed container, I went to check on it. All the little pieces that we had taken out, I told you the object broke into a number of fragments. All the little pieces became a darker color. And they not only became a darker color, but when you lifted up the specimen container, they began to rearrange themselves in the order of which we saw in the X-ray. Now, I called the cameraman, and we had him come down and immediately take video of that. Never seen anything like that before. we're working on possible explanations why this happened. Okay, now this is going to be video, I think. If I can find the cursor. There we go, there we go. This should work. There we go. Okay, get ready. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up. Watch the surgery. If you feel bad, why, you'll find a bag in the seat in front of you, in the pocket. Pull it out. You'll know what to do.
Yep. Okay. So, what I plan to do is just make a small little nick. Are you all right, you guy? Yeah. Okay. And see if we can actually be lucky. Remember, we need some medication. We got a sponge. Dan? Most of my surgeries.
I have to explain to you that this is all unedited footage.
So let's try again.
You'll see the camera sometimes running on the shore or the ceiling, which is constantly running. We're handheld in some of these shots because we wanted to get as close as we could.
Did it hurt you at all, John? You all right?
Yeah, well, for sure, go ahead.
There's some sound in the ambient sound in the room. That's the screen, 2 screens that we look at. When we were down to the last piece that appeared on the scanning device, we were just about ready to go and remove that piece, shut the equipment down because we weren't really looking for it. We turned it back on. That piece was no longer visible.
Pinch it for a minute, it'll slow down, I'm bleeding.
Where did it go? What happened
Coming out
to
real
it?
quick, so it's not.
We don't have a
I'm trying to do
clue.
it for a different position. Move his toe like this.
It was not there.
Excellent.
We did not remove
See
it.
my fingers well. Not his toe.
Actually, I think you're a little proximal.
Everybody doing okay? Anybody need a shot of Compigan or anything?
There's nothing there, is there?
Doesn't appear to be anything visible.
Well, I think we've say that again. Say that again. Take one more quick shot and take it from there. Okay, one more quick shot here after my last suture goes on. And, if we see anything in there. I mean, you saw one little tiny speck. I thought we didn't get quite all of it. I don't see anything now.
No, it looks clear. I don't see anything left.
I think we got it all out of there. So we're gonna put a little pressure on your toe here. I'm gonna have you, Dr. Leir, take this
Very carefully.
very carefully. All these little pieces out here. You know which ones you're talking about?
Yeah, the ones from here to
They're
there.
little tiny things. So I put them all right in this area. This is a very unusual way to do
What we
this.
did was we took these little pieces and placed them on the sterile drape. And then you'll see me cutting a piece off of the sterile drape, and then we take that into the lab. And from there, I very gently pick these little pieces out and put them in this vial of blood serum.
Doctor, hold that up to the camera and kind of tell us what's contained in there.
Second, sir. Can you step over for me, Paul? Thank you. Got 1 second, sir.
I never go into any of these
Contained
surgeries
in
with
these
any
little
expectation.
spots here that we're looking at are very small pieces of tissue.
No matter how strange it would
which may
appear
be
or
metallic,
you can assume it to be,
portions,
it could
mixed
always be
with,
something
soft
rather
tissue.
mundane, and we've had that
But
experience
we'll have to
before
look at the
in the
aggregate
15
and see
cases.
what it is that we have.
So where's this going to head up to now?
Well, depending upon when I get out of here, we'll have to determine whether we have enough to send to pathology or whether it should go directly to metallurgy. So we need to get an SEM done, which will look at both the soft tissue and the metal.
Can I help you sit down and go through this? I think I know where we are with everything.
Okay, I want to get it so we can put it in that other vial.
So let's.
Okay, that's enough of that. Everybody see that okay? Everybody all right? I'd ask you for a show of hands, but I can't see a doggone thing up here. Okay, let's go to the testing. We performed a number of tests, and as you realize, what I've told you before, we've spoken, we look at the object and we look at the outside first, and then we begin to look in. So we do some optical microscopy and get to see what the thing looks like with some magnification, and then we do SEMs, which is scanning electron microscopy, and EDX, which is X-ray dispersive X-rays, and that tells us what the object is basically made out of as far as the elements are concerned. These are a couple of the graphs using what's called Raman spectroscopy, and it begins to give us clues into what we are looking at. Now, analytical tests showed the following. We showed trace element patterns which were consistent with meteoric origin, all the way back. Remember, I told you in the beginning, back to the first two cases. We're all the way back to that again. And we look at the nickel-iron ratio in these, and the nickel-iron ratio appears to fit in the meteoric category. Now, what someone has done, some entity or something, looks like they're using a meteoric iron mixed with some other rare elements to make an object, to put together an object with a specific function. Now, in addition, there are a number of things that we found. I told you about the nickel-iron ratio. We found some minor elements in the sample. Some of them are listed here. These are very strange elements to find in somebody's foot. You just usually don't find these sort of things. Now, in addition to this, we have testing which shows that there's biological material which is either growing out from the metal or into the metal. We don't know yet, but we're doing more testing and more data. This is mind-blowing enough, especially when you look at the last one here, which is uranium. And the only isotope of uranium that was found was U-238, which is very difficult to find in nature existing by itself. So in toto, what we have here is something that's most unusual. This is not the end of the science, but I wanted to present this material to the public for the first time. And I chose the UFO Congress to do this. There are going to be many more tests that are going to be done, and if we can get them done in time in toto, we want all the I's dotted, we want all the T's crossed, we don't want there to be any concern. And what we're going to do is we're going to use controls which consist of perhaps a piece of steel and an actual meteorite fragment, and then we'll be able to compare these and say, this is what we have, this is what's in a nickel-iron meteorite, this is what's in a piece of steel, and these, apparently are not things that come from here. Now, there's some other significant things that we found in the sample. There may be things like inclusions, and I told you before, if you've listened to me speak, that some of the testing that was done at the University of Toronto in Canada showed that there were very interesting spheres or ovoids and other material that was found in the samples at the University of Toronto, including in this particular sample, we not only found those confluent with what we found in at the University of Toronto Material Science Department, but we've also found inclusions which appear to be sodium chloride crystals that are rectangular in various sizes. And you say, oh, what does that mean? Well, think back. Remember, is there anybody here that's old enough to remember a crystal set? If you raise your hands, I'll try and see. Yeah, a few people. The old radio was a crystal set. And what did you use to get a radio program? You used the crystal, and a battery and a copper coil and a set of earphones, and lo and behold, you got a radio show. The early days of radio. So crystals must have some meaning, and perhaps that meaning is being used by entities from somewhere else or intelligences from somewhere else that know how to use the atomic structure of the elements that we have here in this solar system, or maybe some other solar system, or maybe some other distant galaxy. Who knows? But they're able to put things together in, yes, you could say, a manufactured way, as we consider manufacturing. So they can put things together that can use these basic materials for a very specific purpose. And that it appears as what's going on here is a very, very complex, excuse me, very complex form of nanotechnology. And as you know, our nanotechnological development is occurring as we speak. Now, I want to make just one other statement. They say I have 9 minutes left. There's a wonderful clock up here now. It's all a modernization. You see we have colored lights and all this modern equipment. It's just wonderful. I've lectured at these Congress proceedings now for a number of years, and the improvements that have been made are just marvelous. So at the end, I'm going to ask for your hand for the Congress and Bob Brown. Anyway, I get asked often about disclosure. Now, there's going to be a conference in Washington, D.C. that Steve Bassett's putting on called the X Conference. And in talking to Steve, he expects that disclosure may even occur before the conference. I hope he's correct. But in my personal opinion, after traveling around the world in 42 countries in 7 years, I can give you my opinion, and that is disclosure is happening as we speak. All you have to do is pick up the tidbits that occasionally appear on radio, on television, coast to coast. You will get some knowledge of things happening here and happening elsewhere. You go on the internet, use it as a tool. You may be getting some truth somewhere. Other stories are not the truth. But disclosure, I think, is happening. We've had a number of governments that are releasing information, Denmark, Canada, Brazil, France, the UK. Why is this all going on? There's some predictions about Obama's meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada, supposedly discussing other factors having to do with the economy. Some feel that with Hillary Clinton, who we believe is in the know, and Leon Podesta there, that the U.S. government may actually disclose some information. And then, also consider what is disclosure and what are you going to do, who's going to make it. Suppose the U.S. government does tell you that we have non-terrestrial visitors, and we've had for a number of years, and they're flying around, and invading our airspace, and they can't protect you from whatever it is they do. That's quite an admission. I don't really think we're going to hear that. They may tell you about some cases, maybe. But let's say, who are you going to believe and how it is going to affect your life? Let's say the President of the United States makes an announcement that we have extraterrestrial visitors. You're still going to get up in the morning, and what are you going to do? You're going to make breakfast, and for those that go to a job, you're going to go to work. And as an example, if one came down during rush hour, a big craft from 3-4 light years away in our neighborhood, as my good colleague Stan Friedman talks about, and lands on the freeway system, how is that going to affect your life? Most probably, you're going to get on your cell phone and you're going to call some agency like Caltrans, and you say, can you get this thing moved off the freeway? Because I got to get home, I got to feed my cat, my wife expects me for dinner, I got to stop at Albertsons and pick up something. But yeah, it's nice. We have visitors now from somewhere else, but please don't let them interfere, because I got to get up in the morning. I got to go to work. So how much difference is it really going to make in our lives? And I don't think that the other side of the coin, where you watch movies and they're going to come and eat us, or they're like walking zombies and they come out and do all kinds of nasty things and come back from the dead and they bleed green and all over your carpet. I don't think, if they wanted to eat us, they would have eaten us years ago. Food for thought. Anyway, if you want to help with disclosure, tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell somebody. They won't think you're crazy anymore. Believe me, kids talk about this stuff. Do something. Be active. Be proactive in the subject of getting the information out. Go to my table. I have some books. I have some DVDs. Go to Stan's table, one of the other speakers. Buy some of their things. If you've already read it or you've already seen the video, take it. Give something away as a birthday, Christmas, New Year's. Give it to your wife for anniversary or something. Give something to somebody. Spread the word. That's the easiest way to do. Pick out a good DVD and say, here, look, here's a present for you. Take it home. Yeah, I only spent $10, but that's okay. It's a worthwhile present. Go ahead, take it home and enjoy it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to talk to you. And by all means, if you have children or grandchildren, listen to what they have to say. Because I think that the human race is being genetically manipulated, and I hope in the right direction. And if you listen to what kids or your grandchildren have to say, really listen, it seems like they're in tune with a knowledge that they don't have to read out of a book. They've got it. They've got it already. And so the future of the earth is in the hands of our children. It's in the hands of our grandchildren. And so listen to what they have to say, and then make comparisons about, your neighbor's young daughter. My young granddaughter is 9 years old, and every time we go out in the car, and she knows what I do, but I don't think she's very impressed. But she's always in the car. She's always looking out the window, looking at the sky. And she sees, something like an airplane from a peculiar standpoint, and it doesn't have flashing lights on it, and she'll say, is that a UFO? And I'll say, no, that's probably Southwest coming in for a landing at LAX. And she's really disappointed because she wants to see a UFO. So listen to what kids have to say in depth. Be amazed. I've never had a parent or a grandparent ever tell me anything that I was wrong. Because if you listen to what kids have to say, you're going to be impressed. You're going to say, oh, where did they get that from? You've been watching a lot of TV. But it isn't on TV. And believe me, there are cultures still on this planet that don't have TVs. There are still people without food, without shelter in this day and age, which is impossible to believe. But there are people starving right here in our own country. But if you talk to any of them and they're surviving, the young people are going to tell you the same thing. So with the 2 minutes I have remaining, I'm going to finish 2 minutes early, and I thank you very much. If you want to come to my booth, I'll sign books. If I can answer any questions, if you want to be scanned, just go out the back door and see John Rayo and the crew there. As I said, you don't have to undress, no embarrassment, and we can even tell you if you got a cell phone on. So thank you very much.